Robert Chun was taking out the trash behind his restaurant when he saw her. Christmas Eve, just past 9 o'clock. Snow falling soft and steady under the street lights. A little girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old, digging through the dumpster. Behind the medical office building next door. She wore a purple sweater full of holes, patched with mismatched fabric that someone had sewn on with careful but inexperienced hands. Her light brown hair hung in tangles around her thin face. Coat, no gloves. Her hands were red with cold as she reached into the bins. Robert stood frozen for a moment. His own bag of trash? Forgotten. He'd been in America for 25 years. Now, he'd built his small Chinese restaurant from nothing. He'd raised his daughter Amy alone after his wife died when Amy was just 3. He'd seen hard times. But a child alone in the snow on Christmas Eve, searching through garbage. That pierced something deep in his chest. "Hello there," he called gently, not wanting to startle her. "Are you all right?" The girl spun around, fear flashing across her face. She looked ready to run, and Robert raised his hands slowly to show he meant no harm. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. I own the restaurant right here." He pointed to the golden dragon behind him, its windows still glowing warm with light. "Are you looking for something? Maybe I can help." The girl bit her lip, clearly torn between running and staying. Finally, she spoke, her voice small and shaky. "I'm looking for medicine, the bottles that still have pills in them. Sometimes the doctor's office throws away ones that aren't empty." Robert felt his heart crack. "Medicine? Are you sick, sweetheart?" She shook her head quickly. "Not me. My little brother. He's 5. He has asthma real bad, and his inhaler ran out 3 days ago. Mama called the pharmacy, but they said we can't get a refill without paying first, and we don't have the money until Mama's check comes. But that's not till after Christmas." "Where's your mother now?" "Home with Tommy." "That's my brother. She doesn't know I came out." She fell asleep in the chair next to his bed. "She's been working double shifts at the factory, and she's so tired." The girl's eyes filled with tears. "Tommy can't breathe right. Mister, he sounds all wheezy and scary. I thought maybe I could find medicine here, or maybe enough bottles to return for the deposit money." Robert made a decision in that moment, the kind that comes from the heart rather than the head. "What's your name, honey, Sophie?" "Sophie. Sophie. I'm Robert. My daughter Amy is inside the restaurant. She's 16. Why don't you come inside where it's warm, and we'll figure this out together." No child should be out in the snow on Christmas Eve, especially not looking through trash. Sophie hesitated, and Robert could see the conflict in her young face. Stranger danger versus desperate need. Finally, need won. She nodded. Inside the golden dragon, Amy was wiping down tables, getting ready to close. She looked up in surprise as her father came in with the small, shivering girl. "Amy, this is Sophie. She needs our help. Can you get her some hot cocoa and something to eat while I make a phone call?" Amy, blessed with her father's kind heart, immediately went to Sophie and knelt down to her level. "Hi, Sophie. You look cold. Let's get you warmed up." "Okay." While Amy settled Sophie at a corner table with cocoa and a bowl of wonton soup, Robert called Dr. Sarah Mitchell, whose practice was next door. He'd known Sarah for years. She often ordered lunch from his restaurant, and they'd become friendly over time. "Sarah, I'm sorry to call on Christmas Eve, but I have a situation. There's a little girl here whose brother has severe asthma. Inhaler ran out, and the family can't afford the refill until after the holiday. Is there anything we can do?" Sarah didn't hesitate. "I'm actually still at my mother's house, just 10 minutes away. Give me the details, and I'll call in an emergency prescription to the 24-hour pharmacy on Maple Street. Then I'll come by to check on things." Robert got the information from Sophie, her mother's name, her brother's name, their address. Sophie rattled it off between sips of cocoa, sun color finally returning to her cheeks. 30 minutes later, Dr. Mitchell arrived with not just the inhaler, but a bag full of other supplies. Children's pain reliever, vitamins, bandagers, cold medicine. "Just some basics every family should have," she said quietly to Robert. "I'll take her home," Robert said. "Amy, can you lock up here?" "Dad, I'm coming to," Amy insisted. "It's Christmas Eve. Nobody should be alone." The drive to Sophie's apartment was short but revelatory. The building was old, with peeling paint and a broken front door lock. They climbed 3 flights of stairs, Sophie leading the way, and came to a door with the number 312. "Hang in crooked." Sophie opened it quietly. Inside, the apartment was spotlessly clean, despite being nearly bare of furniture. A small Christmas tree made from twisted wire and green tissue paper sat on an overturned crate. Beneath it were 2 wrapped packages, clearly containing something small. A woman sat in a folding chair next to a couch where a little boy lay sleeping fitfully, his breathing audible and labored. The woman's head was bowed, her dark hair falling forward. She wore scrubs with the name tag still pinned on. Jennifer Martinez. It read. "Mama?" Sophie whispered. Jennifer's head snapped up, and her face went from sleepy confusion to shock to fear in rapid succession. Sophie, where have you been? I woke up and you were gone. And she saw Robert, Amy, and Dr. Mitchell standing in her doorway. Who are these people? Mrs. Martinez, Robert said gently. I'm Robert Chun. I own the Golden Dragon restaurant on 5th Street. Your daughter came looking for medicine for your son. She was searching in the dumpsters. Jennifer's face crumpled, and she put her hands over her mouth. Oh, God. Sophie, you didn't? You promised me you wouldn't go out alone. You promised? Tongi T couldn't breathe. Mama, Sophie said, tears streaming down her face now. I had to try to help. Dr. Mitchell stepped forward, her voice calm and professional. Mrs. Martinez, I'm Dr. Sarah Mitchell. I have an inhaler here for Tommy, and I'd like to examine him if that's all right with you. There's no charge. This is just neighbors helping neighbors. What happened over the next hour was something Robert would remember for the rest of his life. Dr. Mitchell examined Tommy, administered his medication, and watched as his breathing eased and his color improved. Jennifer wept quietly, with relief and gratitude and shame all mixed together. While the doctor worked, the story came out in pieces. Jennifer's husband had died 2 years ago in a construction accident. The company had fought the insurance claim. She'd been working 2 jobs to keep her children fed and housed, but medical bills from Tommy's condition had piled up. She'd been choosing between the inhaler and Christmas presents, between medicine and keeping the heat on. I'm not looking for charity, she said, her voice fierce despite the tears. I work hard. I just need time to catch up, to get ahead of these bills. This isn't charity, Robert said firmly. This is community. This is what people do for each other. Amy, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. Mrs. Martinez, do you know how to cook Chinese food? Everyone looked at her in surprise. I'm asking because my dad's been trying to find help at the restaurant. Someone to work lunch shifts, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. It pays $12 an hour, and you'd get a free meal each shift. Dad's been interviewing people for weeks, but nobody seems right. She looked at her father meaningfully. Robert caught on immediately, though he'd been planning to say something similar himself. Amy's right. I've been short-staffed. If you're interested, Mrs. Martinez, the job is yours. You'd work from 10 to 2, so you'd be home when the children get out of school. And before you say anything about charity, let me be clear. I need the help. You'd be earning every penny. Jennifer stared at them, disbelief written across her tired face. I don't know anything about Chinese cooking. I'll teach you, Robert said simply. My wife didn't know either when we started. She learned. So did I, so can you. Dr. Mitchell added her own contribution, and I'd like to take Tommy on as a patient. I know you have insurance through the state program, and I accept it. We'll get his asthma properly managed so he's not having these crises. Prevention is better than emergency treatment. Sophie, who had been watching all of this with wide eyes, suddenly burst into fresh tears. Is this real? Is this really happening? Amy went to her and hugged her tight. It's really happening. It's Christmas Eve. Sophie, miracles are allowed. Tonight, Robert stayed while Dr. Mitchell finished examining Tommy. The boy woke up, breathing easier, his eyes bright with fever but no longer struggling. When he saw the doctor and the strangers in his home, he looked scared. But Sophie climbed up next to him and explained in a whisper what had happened. Before they left, Robert pressed an envelope into Jennifer's hand. This is an advance on your first week's salary. Use it for whatever you need most. Merry Christmas. Amy added a bag she'd been holding. And this is from both of us. Just some groceries and stuff. We had extra. In truth, Robert and Amy had stopped at the 24-hour market on the way and bought everything they could think of. Food, toiletries, 2 new winter coats in children's sizes that Amy had guessed at. Jennifer walked them to the door, unable to speak through her tears. Finally, she managed. Why? Why would you do all this for strangers? Robert thought about his own journey. Coming to America with nothing. Building a life through hard work and the kindness of people who had helped when he needed it most. His wife's death and the community that had rallied around him and tiny Amy. The customers who had become friends. The neighbors who had become family. Because Sophie was brave enough to try to save her brother, he said simply. Because you're working 2 jobs to keep your family together. Because it's Christmas Eve, and nobody should be alone in their struggle. And because someday, when you're on your feet again, you'll help someone else who needs it. That's how it works. That's how we all get through. The drive home was quiet. Snow continued to fall, covering the city in white. Amy finally spoke as they pulled into their own driveway. Dad, we did the right thing tonight, didn't we? We did exactly what your mother would have wanted us to do, Robert said. We saw someone who needed help, and we helped. Not because we expected anything back, but because it was the right thing to do. I'm glad, Amy said softly. I'm glad we found Sophie. So am I, sweetheart. So am I. That night, after Amy had gone to bed, Robert sat in his living room looking at the photograph of his late wife on the mantel. He thought about the years since her death, the struggle and the loneliness and the slow building of a new life. He thought about the community that had sustained him, the kindness of strangers that had gotten him through the darkest times, and he thought about a little girl in a patched purple sweater, brave enough to go out into the snow to save her brother, about a mother working herself to exhaustion to provide for her children, about the connection that forms when people choose to help rather than look away. Jennifer Martinez started at the Golden Dragon 2 days after Christmas. She was a quick learner and a hard worker, and within a month she was one of Robert's most reliable employees. Tommy's asthma came under control with proper medication and monitoring. Sophie started spending time with Amy, following her around like a devoted younger sister. Over time, the two families became inseparable. Birthday celebrations and school events, holidays and ordinary weeknights. Jennifer eventually worked her way up to manager of the restaurant, allowing Robert to finally take the vacation days he'd been putting off for years. But Robert never forgot that Christmas Eve, the night he found a child searching through trash, desperate to save her brother. Lenighty was reminded that sometimes the most important thing we can do is simply pay attention, to see the people around us who are struggling, to reach out a hand rather than turn away. Years later, when Sophie graduated from medical school and Tommy completed his degree in social work, they both credited that snowy Christmas Eve as the moment that changed everything. The night they learned that the world, despite its hardness, still contained people who would stop to help a child in the snow. And Robert, attending their graduation with Amy beside him and Jennifer holding his hand, knew that his wife would have been proud. They had done what she always believed people should do. They had seen someone who needed help, and they had helped. Everything else had followed from that one simple choice. The choice to stop, to see, to care, to act. The choice. That makes us human.